All right, guys, today we are going to do wellness at the whiteboard. And I want to go through the Healthy Steps Nutrition Framework. Now, I started Healthy Steps Nutrition in 2012 when I was a dietitian at the hospital and realized I was on the other side of healthcare. People were coming in with all these chronic diseases and they didn't need me then. They needed me 15 or 20 years before. So we started this company as a nutrition company. And what I realized over the years is nutrition is just one piece of the puzzle. We really have to look at a holistic approach to help people make health a way of life so they can ultimately prevent and reverse chronic disease. So let's go through the Healthy Steps Nutrition Framework today. In the Healthy Steps Nutrition Framework, there are a few different pieces of the puzzle. Nutrition, which we'll dive into in a little bit. I'll save the best for last. Then we've got sleep. Now, what I will tell you with sleep is our bodies need sleep for a number of reasons. Number one, to regulate hormone health, to help rebuild muscle, to help give us energy. And we know that if we don't get enough sleep, we're gonna be at increased risk for mental health issues, anxiety, depression, and also chronic diseases. Research shows that if we're getting less than 6 hours of sleep, our hormone levels are messed off, our cortisol levels are increased, and our fasting blood sugar, which is directly related to many chronic diseases, is actually increased when we're not getting enough sleep. So for recommended adults, 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. So that's our sleep category. The next category we've got is exercise. We want to be exercising consistently, and truth is, today's day and age, it's really tough if you're in front of a computer screen most of the day. If you don't have an active job, it can be tough to get in steps, get in exercise. So we have to be really intentional about that. I love for you to go to the gym and get in strength training, but what happens on those other days? Are we exercising regularly? Did you know that just a 15-minute walk after meals can significantly decrease your blood sugar, decreasing your risk for chronic disease? Or here's another awesome little tidbit. If you do 10 squats, just 10 air squats, every 45 minutes, it decreases your blood sugar by about 21%. Crazy, right? Exercise is so important. And we know that as we age, our bodies lose muscle, about 0.8 to 1% per year. And we want to make sure that we're making sure that we have enough muscle so that we can thrive. We know that as aging adults, we have a increased risk for mortality by about 20% if we don't have muscle. High muscle older adults are going to have a decreased risk of mortality by about 20%. Crazy, right? Strength training 2 to 3 times a week is what we are looking for, as well as cardiovascular exercise. Mindset and stress management. So stress is inevitable, right? We all have stress. There's acute stress, like you're on your way to work and someone slams on their brake and then your heart starts racing, your blood pressure goes up. It's a response. But what about the chronic stress? We know chronic stress leads to chronic disease. And we want to make sure that we have good systems in place to help us respond to stress and have a positive mindset. Our life goes in the direction of our strongest thoughts. And if we are constantly in this negative mindset, it's like living with a jerk all day. We don't want to do that. There's a book called Soundtracks by John Acuff. It's one of my favorite books. And in this book, he talks about understanding the soundtracks that are going on in your head and asking yourself 3 simple questions. Is it kind? Is it true? Is it helpful? And so many times we find ourselves in this worrying rut because we are worried about the future, and it's not kind, it's not true, we don't know what's going on, and it's definitely not helpful. So how do we rewrite that soundtrack to something that's a little bit more productive? One of the things that we love to have clients do that are struggling with mindset is come up with some positive affirmations for themselves. And it sounds silly, but saying it in front of the mirror every single day. It's amazing what happens when we start our day off in a positive mindset. Personally, something that I love to do is read the Bible and journal, listen to worship music every single morning. It sets me in a good place versus rushing in the morning and you start off in a higher stress mindset. So mindset is super important. Then we're going to talk about support system and community. We're meant to live in community, and support system is such an important part of overall health. In 2023, the Surgeon General report came out and it said social isolation is just as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. We know that smoking cigarettes is not good for our health. But do we correlate that the same way that we do with isolating ourselves? Probably not. It's amazing what happens when we get in a supportive community. It's one of the reasons why I love boutique fitness facilities and getting in community with other adults who are prioritizing their health and wellness. One of the exercises that we love our clients to do is to go through the people that they spend the most amount of time with. Who are the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with? Do they have like-minded values? Do they lift you up? Are they in alignment with your goals and your values for yourself? If you have someone that is constantly not in alignment, it's going to be tough for you to stay on track. It's one of the reasons why we love couples and families to do nutrition and health coaching together, because if everyone's on the same page, it's so much easier to stick with it. And as an adult, if you're making food for one person and then everyone else is having something different, it's going to be tough for you to stay on track. So we want to think about those people that we spend our time with. Are they lifting you up or are they pulling you down? I heard an analogy or a story a few years ago, and it really stuck with me. And they were talking about 2 crabbers. And these crabbers were catching crabs and throwing them in a bucket. And one of the crabbers looked at the bucket and saw this one crab trying to get out. And then he said to the other crabber, like, hey, this crab's trying to get out. He's like, don't worry. The other crabs will pull him down. And I think that is so comparable to how we are in life. If we surround ourselves with people that are always looking to go out and party or just not really in alignment, it's going to be easy for us to get pulled back into that. It's one of the reasons why we want to find people, bring those people closer to us that are a few steps ahead of us. It's one of the reasons why having a coach and accountability partner is so helpful, so that you can keep each other accountable. So support system and community is a huge piece of success. Those 5 people that you spend the most time with, do a reflection. Do they lift you up? Are they in alignment with your health and wellness goals, or are they not? And we maybe need to take a step back from someone and bring someone else closer that is going to be a positive support system. Lifestyle. Our health is an outcome of our habits. Health isn't just made, it's not by having pills or supplements, it is our habits. It's a solid foundation, and our goal is that you are able to make health a way of life. The foundation is nutrition, and there's a lot of confusion about nutrition. There's a lot of misinformation and a lot of studies and research and food claims and food and beverage companies that do a really good job to confuse people. Because if you're confused and you're not sure what's right, you're just going to do anything. Or maybe you try something and it didn't work, and then you go right back to old habits. So what is a solid base for nutrition? At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we have 3 core nutrition principles. The first one is prioritizing whole foods first. What does this mean? It doesn't mean going to Whole Foods and only eating the foods there. It means thinking about your plate, and the foods that you're consuming mostly are meats and vegetables and fruit, some nuts and seeds and some starchy carbohydrates, some vegetables. Starting off and eating those whole foods first. It might look like shopping the perimeter of the grocery store and getting mostly things that aren't in a package. Because if we know it's packaged, it's probably processed. So we want to start with the whole foods first. The next thing that we want to look at is balancing macronutrients. So macronutrients are the nutrients that provide us calories. There's protein, carbs, and fats. And we need all 3. All 3 do important things in the body. One of the macronutrients that most people don't get enough of, especially when they're exercising and they're working out, is protein. So by pairing protein, carbs, and fats together, it's actually going to help increase your protein intake overall and make sure that we're fueling our bodies. And make sure that we're staying full and satisfied, because that is so important when we're trying to eat healthy. No one wants to be hangry. So when we think about balancing the macronutrients, having protein, carbs, and fats, how do we do this in a simple way? If we've got our plate, I'd recommend half of our plate is veggies, quarter of our plate is protein, quarter of our plate is starch. Where does the fat come in? Well, how are you cooking these things, and what type of protein did we get? When we're eating, I'd recommend that we eat the vegetables first. Fill up our stomach with the fiber, the vitamins, minerals, the nutrients in our protein. Save the starch for the end. Most people probably have their starch over here, or the entire plate is starch, and we're missing the protein. Proteins are building block of muscle, and if we are trying to build lean muscle mass and lose body fat percentage, we need to make sure that we are getting enough protein in throughout the day. Our last core principle here is limiting the amount of ultra-processed food, added sugar, and alcohol. There's a lot of research around ultra-processed food, and there's actually a lot of food and beverage companies that do their own independent studies to make sure that there's more confusion out there. But what do we know about ultra-processed food? Increased intake in ultra-processed food leads to anxiety and depression and cognitive decline. Ultra-processed food, excessive amounts, leads to chronic disease. The average American eats over 50% ultra-processed food. There's an interesting study done with over 10,000 people looking at cognitive function, so your memory, your focus, your ability to remember things. What happened when these people ate more ultra-processed food? They divided people up into groups based on how much ultra-processed food that they had of overall calories, and all the groups above 20% had a cognitive decline, over 20% cognitive decline, and it increased as their ultra-processed food increased. So what does this mean? We wonder why kids and even us as adults struggle to concentrate sometimes. It's likely because we're not fueling our body with top quality fuel. Think of your body as a Lamborghini, and you want to have that best fuel in there so that you can live life to the fullest, so that you can feel your best. Because the truth is, most people don't even know how their body is designed to feel because they've constantly been in this rut of eating not quality foods. So I want to limit the amount of ultra-processed food that we have, added sugar. Companies do a really good job adding sugar into things that we don't need it. We know the more sugar we have, the more we crave. When you look at a nutrition facts label, it's super easy for you to see how much added sugar is in there. It's going to be under the carbohydrate section. We want to limit the amount of added sugar that we have. And lastly, we want to limit the amount of alcohol. Now, the recommendations in the US have mostly been 1 alcoholic beverage for ladies per day, no more than 2 for men. But we know that that amount decreases our sleep quality drastically, and alcohol increases our risk for cancers. Ultimately, my goal and mission is to help people prevent and reverse chronic disease, helping them understand how to keep it simple and make health a way of life. And ultimately, if you're feeling better, you're going to be able to live life to your fullest, be able to achieve the mission that you are here to achieve. So this is our holistic framework. We have sleep, nutrition, support system, exercise, mindset, all coming together for that lifestyle. If all of this sounded like this all makes sense to me, and fundamentally I know what to do, but I really need a plan. I really need a coach to keep me accountable. We know that's why people are successful long term. If you're thinking like, I really need someone to help me, we would love to be able to help you. You can click the link below and book a discovery call where we'll talk a little bit more about our coaching program. But how it works is you're going to get paired up with a coach. You're going to do an initial assessment. They're going to work with you to create a plan that's realistic for you, navigate all the barriers, and then they're going to keep you accountable through weekly check-ins in the Healthy Steps Nutrition app, and you can even take photos of your food, and our coaches will give you feedback. You're going to have your own personalized coach helping you every step of the way. Thank you for trusting us to help you, and I hope that you take action on at least one thing that we talked about today.